So,
Yeah.
did you build up your own personal brand since you were just a fresh graduate, or you build it after you get a job?
Yeah, actually, everything is a journey. Of course,
Mm.
when you start a journey, it's like you're getting on like a train, and then you should know like where you go. Let's say you want to go to Werribee, you want to go to Geelong, or you go to Dandenong or whatever. You have to take a train, and then the train is like a journey, right? So I define myself because I work like more than 10 years in area of sales and marketing already. I define myself. I want to be a modern marketer. I want to be um, an inspiring person. I want to be a dot connector um, for like whatever I'm doing, right? I have a sense of technology. Of course, I don't really have a tech background, but I try to stay away from traditional marketing, which is like people have an event, like selling sample, whatever, to have a customer, right? But I I strongly believe now, technology will play a really huge part to leverage everything that you are doing, right? And then you can see that during the COVID-19, the company that have um, have been on the digital transformation journey will have a chance. We have a bigger chance than the others, like just based on the traditional marketing. So I define myself that I want to be a mentor. I want to be a marketer. I want to be, like the one who can inspire the person, like in the marketing area. Um, I would suggest that, like the international student, when they come here after they graduate, actually, I think that, of course, they will have like lack of experience for what they want to do. Sometimes they just like struggle to find their path on their for their career. But I think that like the most important thing that you have to determine yourself. You have to to build up your positive energy, because anything that will be a long journey, you have to try. You have to because the opportunity will come when you're ready. Actually, out there, I can see that it's a lot of opportunity, but also it's so many candidates, like who will want to grab that. And then to me, I always, like telling like some of, my staff that I recruit when they just, um, when they just, like coming as a international or first graduate, I mean like the fresh graduate, right? I'm telling them, I want to see the energy for what they and the attitude, right? The right, the positive attitude, the energy that they want to bring on board. No matter what that like they can show me like the background or experience, because of course like what can you expect um, from the young people. But I always try to give them a chance, as long as I can see they have the energy and they have the attitude that who can do the work, who can work with me, and then like learning on the job, on the way, right? So that that what my advice to the international student, that you should know what your strength, and then you focusing on that. You have to selling yourself. And I'm telling them sometimes that if you still like haven't found your opportunities, why don't you just create that? Because like for myself, from my experience, I have been to a lot of interview where I'm making the proposal for my job, for my role, for the company that I'm applying for. And then when I'm coming, actually I took the chance to present that. It's like, hey, if I'm taking the role, what will I do? What can I do for your company? What I'm bringing on board? What the benefit that you can get, like when you help me on board, right? So I think that they will be convinced that like, wow, this guy, even though that make sense or not, it's right or wrong. Like you never know, you don't know, right? But I mean, it's your thought, your idea, your initiatives. Yeah, they will appreciate that.
Okay. One of the questions that I wanted to ask you is about candidates and their common mistakes. What are some of the things that candidates do that gives you that that look? right? And what's some of those things that people make those mistakes?
Yeah. Okay. So I can tell with some young candidates. Of course, I think that like at the end of the day, because they lack of experience of working. Sometimes that they really have a fixed mindset rather than have a like open or closed mindset. Why I'm saying that, some of the people like I pick one example. If you're applying for a marketing job, and then in your mind you always think that like, oh, it's really hard to get a marketing job in Melbourne, in Australia, because like they need a lot of culture experience, need a lot of like language. You have to be very good at English, and then you like, I mean, like you keep pushing yourself, all the negative, like thinking. And then it's like when you come in, and then I don't see the energy, I don't see the vibe, I don't see the positive thinking, and you keep thinking like that, and then I think that you lose before you come, right? You lost, you lose yourself before you come, because you don't believe it in yourself. Like, how can I believe that you can do the job for me? Yeah, that is a one thing, because I mean that they and then another thing that they don't really try to put all together as a they don't see the bigger picture. And of course, but they still, because they lack of experience, how can they put together as a picture, as a bigger picture, right? But I think that they should have a like an open mindset. Let's say you apply for a company with a role, you should, of course, invest your time to modify your CV, to customize your CV, to make sure that like you have something that they will look at. To me, right? If I'm scanning or I'm skimming through the application, I will find some keywords, and then after like 20 seconds, if I can't find any keyword that I want to looking for, I might ignore. I will ignore. Let's say, okay, my team is telemarketing. I don't say any tele in the CV. How can you apply for a telemarketing job, right? You haven't done any tele. You have any, like, and no any thought about tele. You have no actually. You get what I mean, right? The keyword is really important for the recruiter to skim through to your application, right? Another thing is that, I mean, even though that you apply for a telemarketing job, and then you don't really try to make it up. Of course, like if you make it up, like I won't, like picking at that, and then it's like, oh, you're telling lie. No, you can explain that, when you come to the interview. It's like what I meant to like that, because I want to talk to people. I think that like the tele will be a job for me. Things like that, like will make me feel more comfortable rather than you have nothing. And of course, you put yourself in the like the position that you felt. And of course, I think that they don't really try to spend the time onto like customize their CV to apply to the job. They just like have one side video. They keep like spreading out their the application like everywhere. Which is like, of course, if you don't really like focus or invest into that, how can the employer will spend their time to look at that, right? Because they know that like it's a bunch of application as like out there. I receive like when I looking for the candidate. Oh my god, it's just waste my time. Yeah, so another that thing. And then actually when you apply a job for a company, you should better research on the company, onto, because like of course because I'm coming from the market research background as well, so everything I do I will research before I act. I will research about like what the company is doing, what they are selling, or the service that they are providing. So what the location that they have, right? They have in Australia, New Zealand, or whatever, right? The sector, the industry that they are in. And then you have all the story that like around that area that you can tell or you can sell yourself, right? And then everything now like more like customized sector or segment, right? You should know that, okay, they're targeting B2B or B2C. What is the target customer? Because I mean, like I'm talking about a marketing job. If you don't really have that sense, and then you come to the door for the interview, it's like, oh, tell me about your company. It's like, okay, I will, of course I will. But then, like, if you don't really, like make your homework, your research, how can I believe into you? Because it can be right or wrong, but at least that you spend some time onto that, right? And then I can help you, I can walk you through, or I can correct that, if I'm seeing that, it's wrong. But then that's good that you actually spend your time, invest into that. So, I mean, of course, maybe they don't really know. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know like how to start, how to find, anything like that. But to me, that's what I suggest. That's what I'm thinking that, they should think before they apply, or they should prepare before they come to the interview to make themselves, like fulfill with all the information, all the story, like inspiration, like things about the company. And then they will buy into that, when you actually telling them, wow, how can like you have to tell them, even though that you don't really know too much, like it's just what you're saying. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's a lot of mistake that I can spot on, but like some of that, really typical that I can tell.
That's really some really good advice, Huang. I've got a question that leading on to that is, what are some of the ways that graduates or university students can apply that? Let's say university, they're at uni, they've got another year to that international student or that local student to actually get involved, maybe get involved into leadership roles or anything that helps community. Is that something that can enhance their employability?
Absolutely. I would say absolutely, because like when you involve or when you engage into some community like activities, that will build up yourself with the soft skill, communication skill. You will have empathy with people, with the work they are doing. You understand, like how hardship, how difficulties, how struggle that people are facing when you work as a team, when you actually, like try to connect them each other, and then that will be help, right? Of course, the company nowadays, they're using a lot of technology. They're using a lot of processes, like they're using a lot of like automation, whatever they call, right? But they will lack of a human understanding, a human interaction. And then if, of course, if even though that before you landing any like ideal job that you want, and then you build up yourself as a person that, like they think that, that is a good person that they can just, like go with along, like for a long time. And actually anything you do, any time that you spend, any people that you speak will teach you something. And then I think that always useful for you, always useful for yourself. I think that, of course, like I'm talking too much because I'm in the area of sales and marketing. I'm just talking like that because, if you apply for a technology job, I would prefer another way, right? Because technology, you have to, invest yourself into more deep dive into that kind of technology, right? But I mean, because you're asking, like community group or activity, of course, like it's showing up yourself. You will be like a good human resource manager, or you will be a good marketing manager or sales manager or something like that, right? But if, of course, if you apply for accountant or technology, like related to work, I would suggest, like different things. You have to be more focused, concentrate into your work, like you're good at numbers and things like that. But then, of course, like with your job that you are leading the team, you have to put all your like understanding on the difficulties, empathy you put into the way, things like that. So I've seen that some people who come to the door for my interview, for the interview with me, and then showing up and say like, hey, yeah, I have, like lead, activity for community that, student, whatever. And then they say like, okay, tell me about that. What did you do? How you connect to each other? Of course, people are different. They argue all the time. Like you have different thought, I have different thought. How can you solve that? How can you handle that, like kind of conflict? And then, of course, the way that actually you handle, that will show that, like how good leadership that you are. I think leadership, like not just apply to work, apply to your family, apply to, like when you play table tennis here, when you do everything, leadership will apply. right? And then leadership, like inspiration story, mentoring, something like that. If I can see that, I can pick on, I can, like feel that, okay, you are a good person as a team player. Of course, I always ask the question, are you a team player? And then I have some sort of, like during my interview, I have a lot of like soft skill or communication skill, ask them to rate themselves. Of course, when you are going for an interview, you will selling yourself and you will say, 10 out of 10. But then I will ask some example. I will ask, like you prove it. And then of course, some people like, okay, if you ask me rating myself, of course, I want the job. I will rate myself 10 out of 10. I say, okay, then, like I might not trust your honesty because you're not really right honest with yourself, right? So I mean, yeah, I can trick them, like as so many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's very like useful, insightful as well. All right. And you mentioned that as a graduate, we first should have the positive mindset. And what is your
Yes.
advice for the student how to keep positive mind, especially in that during that pandemic?
uh, okay, that is very good question. Because we are human,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes it's really hard to get up, even though like especially in the winter. But of course, everything will be a long journey. I think that because I'm really inspired by Simon Sinek. I think that you might know, like find
Mhm.
your why, or like facing up your why, and of course, build up your fitness, mental health. That will help, right? Because anything anyway, you are joining or you are going for a long journey. And then you have to build up yourself, your energy. Sometimes you fail, sometimes you learn, everything that like make you upset every day. But anyway, if you wake up every day and then you just look at all the negative things, like news on Facebook, on whatever, it's all the negative things, and then you keep like following that, and then you just fail yourself,
Mm.
right? Okay, stay away from that kind of noise, because like that happen all the time. Just like what you want to look at, right? Positive. To me, every day I wake up, I can be inspired by anything. I can be inspired by, wow, that is sunny day today. My like my kid is playing sport, or I inspired by like very good story from a young like people who put on like the Facebook news, whatever. I mean, like try to like build up yourself with all the positive things, and then of course work out. Try to like joining, or like get on with some like fitness program, even though that you can just like train up yourself, because I think that I let table tennis will help you more concentrate on what you are doing, like keep your body fit, and then mental health, and then like getting sweat, and or even though myself I get on running, right? Of course, like for my first few time I feel, oh my god, how can I run? It's been a while I haven't running. But then and when I start, okay, first K, like second K, like, and then I getting better, like you build up your momentum, your endurance, right? um and then of course when you sit down, and then your mind, your brain will be fresh, and then you start like build your mind map. You think that you try to connect the dot, and then after a while you will focus, and you're like, okay, here what I'm gonna do, and then try to draw up your roadmap into whatever you want to do, right? I always ask my team, show me your roadmap that you want to do. I will try to help you to fulfill. Of course, you never know, but as long as you build your framework, you will know what you want. And then people or yourself will have to like fulfill that over time. Let's say you build a framework, you build a roadmap with a time frame. And then now you see that what you are missing, you are missing some skill, and then you know where you find that, right? How you build that. If you think that you lack of that kind of information, you will know that, and then you will find the source, like to fulfill that kind of information. But as long as you have the framework, the roadmap, if you don't, of course, like you're going nowhere. People telling you, hey, you should do this, and then you go to do that. And then you meet another friend, they say like, no, the other way is wrong, you should do this. And then you will go, like everywhere without any destination that you want to go. Right? I think that, like back to, again, to the book of, or the TED Talk of Simon Sinek. Find your why. Because when you set up your why, and then when you start, like go and right, after why you have how and what, right? And then you start, like acting, you start, like doing something. And then if you are losing the track, where you should go back. And so like, okay, I will ask myself, when I start, why did I start? Right? And then I think that will help you. Rather than, like, because people now will really practically asking like, what can I do? How can I do? How should I do? You just ask how and what. You don't really know why you're doing that, right? Of course, like when I'm leading my team, everything I ask them to do, or I assign the task, I will try to tell them why I'm asking you doing this. Why should you doing this for this job, for myself, for the team, for the campaign? Try to show them the bigger picture. You say, hey, the campaign have this budget, have this time frame, right? Okay, I will break it down for you every week. What should I want? What do I want? I'm targeting this, breaking down, like weekly, breaking down by person, breaking down. But then I should have a bigger picture. And then I review along the way. So I know that where I'm mixing. Like, are we on the right track, or we should review and then we should try different way, we should brainstorm. I think that's the same to the young student, right? Try to build up your plan. What's your game plan? When you play table tennis, right? What's your game plan? You losing the first set, what's your game plan? Are you bouncing back, like strong, and then, like win the opponent, right? So everything you do, you should have a plan, right? But of course, if you don't really know like how's your plan look like, just start it. And then people like you fulfill the plan, along the way.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Hoàng. So this is also our final questions for you before we come to the face-up show where you will meet Dean. All right, I'm letting Dean in. Okay, thank you.